The court did not bring Astra Morwen to the prophecy dais because they wanted the future. They brought her there because they wanted the future to apologize. That was what High Oracle Maelra Graith had promised them. One public correction, one false seer broken before the throne, one scarred servant girl forced to confess that every ugly vision she had ever spoken was nothing but bitterness dressed as moonsight. Astra knelt beneath the hanging wolf bones with her hands bound behind her back and her shoulders bare to the court. The old prophecy scars crossed her skin in thin white lines, some straight as blade cuts, some curved like claw marks, some small enough to look like scratches left by a frightened child. They had appeared one by one over the years. Each time she saw something the throne did not want named. A burned harvest after a celebrated war. A noble wedding ending in blood. A prince with no face in a victory procession. An Alpha King standing in snow with his own crown chained around his throat. None of those visions had flattered power. So, the court called them lies. Alpha King Theron Blackmere sat on the Stormwolf throne beneath banners of black fur and silver thread. He had not spoken since Astra was dragged in. That silence was worse than anger. Anger belonged to men. Silence belonged to kings who had already decided someone else's pain could serve a larger purpose. High Oracle Maelra lifted the false oracle brand from a basin of blue fire. The metal was shaped like a closed eye. "Scarred servant Astra Morwen," Maelra said, voice smooth enough to sound merciful. "You are condemned for spreading unsanctioned visions against crown stability. Your scars have misled weak minds. Your tongue has weakened trust in the throne. Today, your false sight will be sealed." Astra looked at the brand, then at the court. Noble women in moon-white gowns watched from the side galleries. War captains leaned on their wolf-headed swords. The royal council sat near Maelra, with faces carved into discipline. They did not look like people waiting for justice. They looked like people waiting for a stain to be cleaned. Theron's gaze finally met hers. Astra wished it had not. His eyes were silver gray, hard and cold, but not empty. Something moved behind them when he looked at her scars. Not pity, not kindness. Recognition, perhaps. And that was more dangerous, because recognition could become ownership if a king wanted it badly enough. Maelra touched the hot brand to Astra's shoulder. Pain entered her without permission. Astra bit her lip until she tasted blood, but she did not scream. The brand was meant to close prophecy. Instead, every scar on her body began to glow. Not bright, not beautiful. Silver light seeped through the white lines like moonlight leaking from wounds that had never healed correctly. The court recoiled. Maelra stepped back, the brand trembling in her hand. Astra lowered her head, breathing hard. The scars changed. They did not become symbols of glory. They became injuries not yet made. New lines opened across her skin without cutting it. One around her throat like a collar. One across her palm like a broken vow. One over her heart like a claw stopped just before it entered. Future wounds. Choices not yet committed. Theron stood. Every wolf in the hall felt it. The air tightened. Shadows along the walls flattened. Even Maelra went still. "What is that?" he asked. Astra's voice came raw. "The part of the future your court has not wounded yet." Maelra recovered quickly. "Majesty, false seers often convulse under correction. The body invents signs when the mind seeks attention. A true prophecy serves the realm. A selfish one merely bleeds." Astra laughed once. It sounded broken even to her. "If I wanted attention, I would have learned to tell kings they were holy." A low murmur passed through the hall. Theron descended the throne steps. His wolf shadow moved with him, large and dark beneath the moonlight. But it did not lunge, bow, or growl. It stayed attached to him like a truth not ready to leave. Good. Astra did not want another beast deciding her worth in public. Theron stopped before her. "Reveal what you saw." "No." Maelra's mouth tightened. "You refuse your king?" Astra looked up at Theron, not Maelra. "He does not want a future. He wants a witness he can punish, if the future is ugly." Theron's face hardened. The court waited for him to strike her. He did not. That was the first dangerous thing. The second was softer. "Show me anyway," he said. Not a plea. not kindness. A command trying to sound controlled. Astra's newest scar opened with silver light. The moonstone floor between them darkened. A shape stepped out of Theron's own shadow, but it was not his living wolf shadow. It was thinner, older, half human, half wolf, made of smoke, crown light, and wounds that had not yet touched his skin. His future. The court drew back in horror. The future shadow wore a silver collar around its throat. From the collar stretched 3 chains. One to the throne, one to Maelra's hand, and one into empty air where a woman's wrist should have been. Astra's stomach turned. Theron saw the missing chain. Zodit Maelra. The future shadow stepped forward. Then it dropped to one knee at Astra's feet. Not like a lover, not like a servant, like a condemned man placing evidence before the only person whose wounds could still read it. Theron vent parle, Maelra whispered. Impossible. Astra looked down at the kneeling future and understood the horror before the court did. The prophecy was not saying she would save his throne by becoming his queen. It was saying the last human thing inside him would survive only if he refused to claim her. Then the future shadow lifted its chained hands and laid an invisible collar at Astra's bare knees. Not for her throat. For his. The invisible collar at Astra's knees was not waiting for her throat. It was waiting for Theron's choice. That was what made the wolf court afraid. Not the kneeling future shadow. Not the silver scars glowing across Astra's skin. Not even the impossible sight of the Alpha King's own future lowering itself before a condemned servant girl. Fear entered the hall when the collar did not rise toward her. It drifted toward him. Only an inch. Then it stopped. Theron stared at the empty circle of air as if he could feel cold metal already resting against his pulse. His living wolf shadow behind him growled low, not at Astra, not at the court, but at the future version of himself still kneeling on the moonstone floor. Maelra moved first. She always did when truth began breathing without permission. False manifestation, the High Oracle declared, lifting the closed-eye brand again. A punishment convulsion. Nothing more. Astra looked at the invisible collar. Then why are you afraid to ask whose it is? The court went silent. Maelra's mouth tightened. A scarred girl under correction has no standing to question royal prophecy. A future that cannot be used is no prophecy, Astra said softly, repeating the words Maelra had taught every lower oracle in the temple. It is sabotage. Maelra's eyes sharpened. Theron heard the sentence and looked between them. You taught her that? I taught her discipline, Maelra said. Truth is not holy until power can survive hearing it. Astra laughed once, bitter and breathless. No. You taught us to make warnings useful. The newest scar across her throat burned. Every noble saw it. A thin silver line glowed around her neck, shaped exactly like the collar floating between her and Theron. But the invisible collar did not touch her. It hovered near Theron's chest, waiting for a hand that had not yet closed. His hand. His future. His claim. Theron's voice came low. What happens if I take it? Astra looked at him. You do not take it. You make it. The future shadow lifted its chained hand slightly, and silver light spilled from Astra's scars onto the floor. Words formed across the moonstone, not in the polished prophecy script used for royal ceremonies, but in jagged scar script that looked almost alive. Warning altered into permission. Crown survival prioritized over soul survival. Oracle testimony corrected for war morale. Maelra stepped toward the words. Erase that. The brand did not obey. Instead, the blue fire in its metal eye turned white. Theron's gaze snapped to Maelra. Corrected? The High Oracle's calm thinned. All prophecy must be interpreted. Interpreted, Astra said. Or beautified. Lady Serena Vale rose from the side gallery, her moon-white gown shining like a promise bought in advance. Until then, she had watched with the controlled disgust of a noblewoman, too certain of her place to fear a servant's scars. Now her hand was clenched around the silver luna chain at her throat. My family paid for sanctioned prophecy, Serena said. Not gutter wounds. Astra turned to her. Your family paid for a pretty future. Serena's face went pale with rage. You know nothing of noble contracts, the floor answered. A second line burned into view. House Vale purchased favorable Luna vision, sealed under High Oracle authority. The court erupted. Serena's mother stood so sharply, her chair struck the stone behind her. Lies. The brand in Maelra's hand screamed. Astra flinched as another future wound opened across her palm. She nearly fell, but she caught herself before Theron could move. She saw him check the motion, saw the battle in his face. Command. Protect. Seize. Stop. Choose. No, she said before he spoke. Do not make my pain easier for you by standing over it. He went still. Good. The collar in the air stopped moving. It had not obeyed pity. It had obeyed restraint. Astra breathed through the burn and looked at the floor. The scar script kept writing. Original prophecy. If the Alpha King claims a seer as crown possession, war victory will come. But the human soul beneath the wolf crown will be collared. Corrected prophecy. The Alpha King's chosen oracle will secure his eastern victory and strengthen his future Luna line. Theron looked as if the words had struck him in the ribs. Serena whispered. No. Astra's voice was raw. That was your pretty prophecy. The Luna candidate stared at Maelra, and for the first time fear cracked through her pride. You told us I would soften his future. Maelra lifted her chin. And you would have. A king guided by useful prophecy survives. Astra looked at Theron. Useful to whom? He did not answer. He was looking at the invisible collar. The future shadow remained kneeling at Astra's feet, not worshipping her, not surrendering to her, but holding out evidence the court had buried under ceremony and silk. The missing chain still stretched from its collar into empty air where a woman's wrist should have been. Astra understood then. She was not the future you had to claim, she said, though the words tasted like blood. She was the future you had to leave unowned. Theron's eyes lifted to hers. Something dangerous moved there. Not love. Recognition with teeth. Maelra saw it and struck. She pressed the brand to Astra's glowing palm. Pain tore through Astra so sharply the hall vanished for half a breath. When sight returned, the brand was no longer trying to seal her scars. It was writing through them. Old erased prophecies spilled across the floor in silver lines. One after another, hidden futures dragged out of Astra's wounds. Maelra Graith sold favorable omens to House Vale. Maelra Graith corrected famine warnings into victory hymns. Maelra Graith removed unsuitable death visions from the Coronation Archive. Theron turned fully toward her. Coronation Archive? Maelra went still. Astra's throat tightened. The floor darkened beneath the throne. One final prophecy rose older and deeper than the rest, its letters cutting through the moonstone like scars opening in stone. On the night of Theron Blackmere's coronation, the wolf crown will obey him only after his mercy is chained. Theron looked at the throne. For the first time, Astra saw him look at his crown as if it had teeth. And from beneath his crown, something silver began to tighten. The wolf crown had not crowned Theron first. It had collared the mercy that would have made him dangerous to the court. Silver tightened beneath the black metal at his brow. Not like a chain forged by hand, but like a promise finally remembering it had been made into a noose. Theron did not cry out. His body went still. His jaw locked. And the living wolf shadow behind him lowered its head, as if it felt the same pressure around its throat. Astra saw the pain before the court understood it. Then the nobles began to rise. War captains gripped sword hilts. Council lords looked toward the exits. Serena's mother clutched her daughter's arm. Serena herself stared at the tightening silver beneath Theron's crown, fear showing through the beauty she had worn like armor. Maelra lifted the closed-eye brand. Do not panic. The coronation bond is responding to unlawful scar sight. Astra's throat scar burned. She looked at Theron. Who chained it? The question cut through the hall. Theron's eyes found hers. He looked less certain now, and that made him more dangerous in a different way. Certainty had been the wall around him. Something behind it was bleeding. Maelra stepped between them. Mercy chain is not corruption. It is crown discipline. Mercy chain, Astra repeated. The silver under Theron's crown tightened again. This time he flinched. Maelra saw it and spoke faster. A merciful king hesitates. A hesitating king dies. A dead king leaves wolves to devour one another. The crown does not kill mercy. It binds it until mercy can serve rule instead of weakness. Astra looked at the future shadow still kneeling at her feet. Its silver collar glowed in answer to Maelra's words. "So you did not remove his mercy," Astra said. "You made it obedient." Theron's face changed. The words had found something he recognized. The first battle where he did not weep. The first execution where his hand did not shake. The first time the court praised him for being clean of softness, while something inside him went quiet. His wolf shadow growled. Not at Astra. At the crown, Serena stepped forward, her voice sharp with controlled fear. "Majesty, this is why sanctioned prophecy exists. If the Eastern War Vision collapses, the Thornridge Pax will revolt. If House Vale withdraws the Luna Alliance, half the Border Lords will turn uncertain before winter." Her gaze flicked to Astra. "Claim her as Royal Oracle. Bind her sight to the crown. Then her scars become lawful. The war vision can be corrected, and the court remains stable." There it was. Not hatred. Usefulness. The future shadow bowed its head lower at Astra's feet, as if the invisible collar had grown heavier. Theron looked at Astra. For a moment she saw the temptation reach him. Not love. Not desire. A solution placed before a desperate king. Take the painful girl. Name her sacred. Turn her wounds into strategy. And call it protection. Astra's bound hands curled. "I am not the leash you use to keep your soul from running," she said. The hall went silent. Serena's eyes narrowed. "You speak as if refusing the king makes you noble." "No," Astra said. "I speak as someone who knows what it means when powerful people call a wound useful." Maelra lifted the brand toward Astra's face. "Enough. She is unstable. Majesty, command her to complete the coronation reading." Theron's gaze stayed on Astra. "Can you read it?" Astra laughed softly, and pain moved through the sound. "Yes." His eyes sharpened. "But I will not bleed so you can choose with clean hands," she said. "I will read it once. I will not belong to the answer." The silver beneath his crown pulsed. The choice entered the room. Theron could command her. Every law in the hall would support him. He could name her Royal Oracle. Fold her scars into his court. Keep the war victory prophecy. Hold House Vale close, and walk toward the future Maelra had polished for him. Or he could let the ugly future remain ugly. He looked at the throne. Then at Maelra. Then at Serena. Lust at Astra. His voice, when it came, was low enough that the court leaned in to hear it. "Astra Morwen is not crown property." Maelra went still. Serena's lips parted. Theron continued. "Her sight is not mine to bind. Her scars are not mine to correct. If she speaks, it is as witness. If she refuses, that refusal stands." The court looked more horrified by her right to refuse than by any prophecy on the floor. The invisible collar in the air cracked. Astra felt it in her own throat. Not relief. A door opening where a chain had been. Refusing to own her was the first future he could still choose. The war captains began shouting at once. House Vale's bench erupted. Maelra's brand burned white-hot in her hand. But she did not strike yet. She was staring at Theron as if he had stepped off a bridge she had spent years teaching him not to see. "The Eastern victory will become uncertain," she said. Theron's jaw tightened. "Then it will be uncertain. The Luna Alliance may break. Then let it speak honestly before it breaks. The crown may not obey you." The silver beneath his crown snapped once, loud as bone. Theron staggered. Astra moved without thinking, then stopped herself before reaching him. He noticed. So did she. No one owned the other's pain. Theron caught himself on the edge of the dais. "Then I will learn what obeys me without a chain." The future shadow lifted its head. The crack in its collar widened, and then every beautiful prophecy Maelra had ever sold began screaming from the walls. Gold letters split into black mouths. The beautiful prophecies did not scream like ghosts. They screamed like lies being forced back into their original shape. Gold letters writhed across the walls of the wolf court, splitting open into black mouths that poured sound into the hall. Not words at first. Pain. Panic. The buried noise of futures that had been polished until their wounds disappeared. Noble women clapped hands over their ears. War captains stumbled from the benches. Council lords shouted for guards, as if swords could silence a prophecy that had learned how to accuse. Astra stayed on her knees. Every scar on her body burned. Not all at once. One by one. As if each screaming prophecy had found a matching wound under her skin and was calling it by name. Theron stood beside the dais, one hand braced against the throne, silver still tightening beneath his crown. He looked at the walls, then at Astra, and the horror in his face sharpened into understanding. "These are not only records," he said. Astra forced breath through her teeth. "No." Maelra lifted the closed-eye brand with both hands. "Seal the walls." The brand's blue fire turned white, then red, then black. It did not obey her. Instead, the metal eye opened. Maelra went still. A line of scar script burned across the floor in front of her. "Correction requires payment." The court saw it. So did Astra. Maelra's hand trembled only once before she hid it. "All prophecy requires sacrifice." "No," Astra said. Her voice was hoarse. "Beautiful prophecy requires someone else's wound." The screaming walls answered. One golden prophecy above Housevale's bench split apart first. Its polished script had once read, "Serena Vale shall soften the Alpha King's winter and secure peace through Luna Bond." The letters rotted from the center. Beneath them, the original warning appeared in black-silver light. "If Serena Vale is used as Luna Alliance, the King's mercy will be chained beyond recall, and the war victory will crown a hollow wolf." Serena staggered backward. Her mother turned on Maelra, not with guilt, but fury. "We paid for certainty." Maelra's eyes flashed. "You paid for survival. We paid for a future that served Housevale." Astra almost laughed. There it was. The court did not hate false prophecy. It hated ugly prophecy that could no longer be sold. Theron looked at Serena, then at the wall. "You knew." Serena's face tightened. "I knew the prophecy was sanctioned. I knew my house was promised a role. I knew Maelra said a queen must be useful before she is loved." Astra looked at her. "And you never asked what was cut away to make you useful?" Serena's mouth opened. No answer came. Another prophecy screamed. A harvest blessing bought by a border lord split open and revealed famine after a praised raid. A birth omen sold to a noble mother cracked and revealed a daughter sent away because she would inherit wolf sight. A victory hymn over the Eastern War blackened until soldiers' names appeared beneath it. Men who would die because Maelra had removed the warning of ice under the pass. The court did not become remorseful. It became afraid. Afraid of inheritance. Afraid of marriages. Afraid of battles already ordered under altered light. A war captain pointed at Astra. "Silence her, and the walls will stop." Theron's wolf shadow lunged half a step. Theron lifted one hand, stopping it without taking his eyes from Astra. "Good." She thought through the pain. Not because he protected her, because he did not make the choice look easy. The captain snarled. "Majesty, if these prophecies stand, every oath made under them can be challenged." Maelra seized the opening. "Exactly. If corrected futures collapse, all choices made under them become unstable. Marriages, treaties, succession, war claims, pack inheritance. Do you want truth? Or do you want a kingdom left standing?" The hall quieted around the threat. Theron looked at Astra. "How do we stop the screaming?" Astra's scars flared so hard her vision blurred. She hated that he asked we. She hated more that he had asked how, not what to command. "Do not stop it," she said. "Read it." The future shadow at her feet lifted its chained hands. The cracked collar around its throat widened slightly, as if the answer had loosened it by a breath. Maelra stepped toward Astra. "If they read every ugly future, they will tear one another apart before dawn." "They might," Astra said. "Then you admit it." Astra looked at the nobles, the captains, the bought daughters, the frightened mothers, the men who had preferred pretty death to ugly warning. "I admit truth is not gentle because you paid to make it late." The brand screamed in Maelra's hand. Then it pulled toward Astra, not to seal her, to feed. Astra saw it now. Every time Maelra corrected a prophecy, the ugly future, wound had to go somewhere. Lower oracles, scarred servants, girls no one counted, Bodies made into archives for future's power refused to hear. Her scars were not only hers. Some had been forced into her skin. Theron saw the realization break across her face. Astra. She shook her head. Do not touch me. He stopped. The restraint held the collar cracked. Maelra's voice dropped, intimate and cruel. You were never special. You were simply durable. Astra looked at her. That is what frightened you. The walls screamed louder. The oldest, beautiful prophecy above the throne began to split. Not House Vale. Not the Eastern War. The Coronation Archive. Gold peeled away from black stone, and inside the wound of the wall, a name appeared in silver scar script. Astra Morwen. The court fell silent. The prophecy opened wider, and beneath her name, the final line burned clear. Price paid for Theron Blackmere's coronation. The court did not gasp when Astra's name appeared beneath the coronation prophecy. It went silent. That was worse. A gasp belonged to shock. Silence belonged to calculation. Every noble in the wolf court looked at her as if she had stopped being a condemned servant and become a crack under the throne itself. Astra Morwen. Price paid for Theron Blackmere's coronation. The words burned above the Stormwolf throne in silver scar script, bright enough to turn the black stone pale. Astra stared at her own name until the letters blurred. She wanted to feel surprise, horror, anger, anything clean. Instead, she felt recognition. Some part of her had always known she had been used before she was old enough to remember being useful. Theron looked at the prophecy, then at Astra. The silver beneath his crown tightened again, and this time his hand rose halfway toward it before he forced it down. What price? He asked. No one answered. Astra turned to Maelra. The High Oracle held the opened-eye brand against her chest like a holy relic that had suddenly learned how to accuse. Her face remained composed, but her throat moved once before she spoke. Coronation rites require balance. Astra's scars began to burn. Maelra continued. A young king with too much mercy may fail to command. A young king with too much wolf may destroy what he means to rule. The crown needed obedience. The realm needed survival. Theron's voice was deadly quiet. What did you do? The wall answered. The coronation prophecy split wider, and a memory opened inside the wound of the stone. Astra saw a child kneeling beneath the dais. Not in the throne hall above, where nobles had cheered and banners had risen, but below it, in a narrow chamber of black roots and old moonbone. The child was thin, barefoot, with dark hair cut unevenly at her shoulders. Astra knew her before the memory gave her a face. Herself, no older than 9. A silver chain hung from the underside of the throne above. It pulsed like a living vein. Each time the court above roared Theron's name, the chain tightened around nothing, searching for something soft enough to take. Young Astra looked at Maelra, who stood beside her holding the closed-eye brand. I do not want another scar, the child whispered. Maelra knelt before her and touched her cheek with almost tenderness. Then be brave for your king. Astra's stomach turned. Above in the present, Theron took one step toward the memory. No. The memory did not stop. The chain descended, not around young Astra's throat, around her future. A wound opened across the child's shoulder, then another across her palm, then one at her throat. Each new scar caught a piece of something silver falling from the crown above. Merce. Hesitation. Regret. The parts of a boy king that might have made him pause before becoming useful to war. The present Astra could barely breathe. He did not need to be merciless, she said. Maelra's eyes hardened. He needed to live. No. Astra looked at young Theron in the memory, standing above in the coronation hall, pale under the wolf crown, too young to understand why the cheering sounded like drowning. You needed him governable. Theron stared at the child beneath his own coronation. His face looked carved from grief and fury. I did not know she was there. Astra turned toward him. Her voice did not rise. I know. That hurt more than accusation, because it gave him no villainy to hide inside. Only benefit. Maelra seized the moment. Majesty. If this record stands, your coronation may be challenged. Every order given under your crown becomes vulnerable. Every border oath, every execution, every war command. The captains stirred. Serena's mother whispered urgently to the Vale guards. Astra saw the court choosing already. Not truth. Damage control. A lord near the eastern benches pointed at Astra. Then remove the price. If the girl is the living proof, silence her. Theron turned on him so fast the lord stepped back, but Astra spoke first. There it is, she said. The court does not hate false prophecy. It hates ugly prophecy that can no longer be sold. The future shadow at her feet lifted its head. Its collar cracked again. Theron's voice came low. No one touches her. Astra looked at him sharply. Do not make me your protected secret. He stopped. Good. Protection could become another room with a locked door. Theron understood enough to change the words. No one touches the witness. The throne shook. The difference mattered. Maelra saw it too. Her face tightened. A witness may be questioned. Astra's scars flared. Theron's crown answered with a silver pulse. Maelra lifted the brand. Then let the witness complete what was begun. If she carried the mercy you could not use, Majesty, she may return it. The coronation can be purified. Your rule can stand clean. Astra laughed once, broken and cold. There is always a way to make my pain useful again, isn't there? Theron looked at her. For a breath, the temptation returned. Take back what had been stolen. Heal the crown. Secure the throne. Make the ugly truth end in a neat royal repair. Astra saw him see it. Then she said, I will not become the throat your crown uses when yours is chained. Theron closed his eyes. When he opened them, the boy from the memory was gone. Not the mercy. The boy. I will not take it back from you, he said. Maelra went still. The silver beneath the crown tightened so violently Theron dropped to one knee. The court surged. Astra moved despite herself. But he lifted one hand to stop her. No, he forced out. Let it show what obeys pain. The coronation wall screamed. Young Astra in the memory lifted her scarred hand toward the chain. And the scar over Astra's present heart split open with silver light. Inside it was not blood. It was the first mercy Theron Blackmere had ever been taught to lose. The first mercy Theron Blackmere had ever been taught to lose did not look noble. It looked small. A silver flame trembled inside Astra's open heart scar, no larger than a candle cupped against wind. The court stared at it as if mercy should have been grand if it had once belonged to a king. But this was not a banner. Not a crown jewel. Not a holy relic. It was a boy's hesitation. A breath held before his first command. The part of him that had once wanted to ask whether obedience always needed blood. Theron remained on one knee beneath the tightening crown. One hand braced against the moonstone floor. Silver cut across his brow. His living wolf shadow crouched behind him, shaking with restraint, its dark muzzle lowered as if it wanted to howl but had forgotten how. Maelra's eyes fixed on the silver flame in Astra's chest. There, she whispered. The lost portion. Return it, and the coronation stabilizes. Astra looked at her. Return it to what? To its rightful bearer. Theron's voice came rough. No. The word scraped through him. Maelra turned sharply. Majesty, do not be foolish. Your mercy was extracted unlawfully, yes. But it remains yours. If restored through crown right, the prophecy can be corrected without destroying the throne. Astra laughed softly. Even that hurt. Corrected, she said. You mean hidden again? The silver flame flickered. A memory opened inside it. Theron as a boy stood in the snow outside the wolf kennels, crown too large on his head, watching a wounded enemy pup limp toward the gate. A soldier lifted a spear. Young Theron raised his hand to stop him. Then the coronation chain tightened beneath the throne. Far below, young Astra screamed. Theron's hand lowered. The spear fell. The memory vanished. The court did not speak. Theron's face had gone hollow. That was the first one, Astra said. His eyes lifted to hers. The first order I did not question after the crown, he whispered. Maelra's jaw tightened. A king cannot grieve every enemy. No, Astra said. But a child can be taught when grief is forbidden. The silver flame pulsed again. More memories pressed against it. But Astra clenched her hand over the scar before they could spill. Pain ran through her ribs. She bent forward, breathing hard. Theron moved. Only half a step, then stopped himself. The invisible collar near Astra's knees held still. It had learned his restraint before the court did. "What do you need?" he asked. Astra looked at him through the silver light. "Not need. Terms." The court stiffened. A servant girl setting terms to an Alpha King was more horrifying to them than a crown-bleeding prophecy. Theron did not look away. "Name them." "I will read what was stored in me," she said. "I will not return it to the crown. I will not be bound as royal oracle. I will not be called holy so you can keep me locked in a cleaner room." Maelra snapped. "This is treasonous." Theron's voice cut across hers. "Accepted." The court erupted. Serena stood, pale and furious. "If she keeps royal mercy, she holds power over your rule." Astra turned toward her. "No. I hold evidence of what was stolen from both of us." Serena flinched at the word evidence. "Good. Evidence could not be courted like a bride." Maelra lifted the brand again. "Then the court must see all of it." Astra knew the trap at once. All of Theron's lost mercy at once would break him before the court. The nobles would call him unstable. House Vale would withdraw. The war captains would move. Maelra would say ugly truth had endangered the realm, then bury it under emergency law. Theron understood too late. "Astra." She raised one hand. "No." The future wound over her heart burned wider. "I choose the first record only." The brand screamed. Maelra's eyes widened. "You cannot choose partial witness." "I can if full witness is being used as execution." The silver flame answered her. It rose from Astra's chest and moved into the air between them, showing only the memory of the wounded enemy pup, young Theron's raised hand, the chain, Astra's scream, the lowered mercy, the spear. One small mercy. One stolen hesitation. One dead creature. No royal history had counted. The court watched. No one knew what to do with a crime so small and so complete. Theron bowed his head. "Not to Astra. To the memory." "I gave the order," he said. Maelra exhaled in relief, ready to turn confession into control. Then Theron continued. But the crown had already been trained to make mercy hurt somewhere else. The silver beneath his crown cracked. Not enough to free him. Enough to bleed light. Astra felt the crack in her own scar. And for the first time, the pain did not deepen. It shifted. The mercy inside her did not return to Theron. It became record. The moonstone floor wrote beneath the memory. First mercy extracted. First refusal interrupted. Crown obedience purchased through child wound. Maelra stepped back. The brand in her hand went dark. Theron lifted his head slowly. "What happens if every record is read one by one?" Astra met his eyes. "Your throne survives only what it can answer. And if it cannot, then it was never surviving. It was feeding." The living wolf shadow behind Theron rose. For the first time, it did not look at the crown. It looked at Astra's heart scar. Then the future shadow at her feet opened its chained hands again. Inside its palms lay another silver flame, larger, bleeding. And this one carried Serena Vale's name. The silver flame carrying Serena Vale's name did not belong to Serena. That was the first thing Astra understood. It hovered in the future shadow's chained palms, brighter than the first mercy, smoother, prettier, shaped like something polished for display. It did not tremble like the wounded pup memory. It did not smell of snow or hesitation. It smelled of court perfume, sealed contracts, and silk placed over blood before guests arrived. Serena stared at it from the gallery. For once, she did not look offended. She looked afraid. Theron's voice was low. "What is that?" Astra pressed one hand against the heart scar still burning beneath her torn dress. "A mercy meant to be worn." Serena's mother stood at once. "Do not let her speak." That was answer enough. The future shadow raised the flame higher. Silver light struck the moonstone wall behind Serena, and a vision opened above House Vale's bench. Serena appeared younger, perhaps 15, standing in the white prophecy chamber while Maelra circled her with the closed-eye brand. Her hair was loose then, her face still soft in a way the court had since trained out of her. Lady Vale stood behind her daughter, one hand on Serena's shoulder like a blessing, one hand gripping hard enough to hurt. Maelra spoke in the memory. "The king's mercy cannot remain inside him, it weakens command." Young Serena swallowed. Then what is a Luna for? Maelra smiled. To make the world believe mercy still stands beside him. The present court went still. Serena's face changed. Not because she had forgotten, because she had hoped no one else would remember. Astra looked at her. You were not meant to soften him, the vision answered. Young Serena knelt while Maelra touched the brand to the inside of her wrist. A silver mark appeared there. A beautiful little flame, delicate enough to look like grace. Serena did not cry out. She had been trained better than that. Maelra's voice continued. You will carry the appearance of what the crown cannot afford to keep. He will rule without hesitation. You will weep when the realm needs tenderness. Together, the throne will look whole. The vision shattered. Serena clutched her wrist. Astra saw it now. Beneath the pearl bracelet was a scar shaped like a tiny flame. Serena's beauty had been another corrected prophecy. Not false. Worse. Useful. Theron looked at Serena with horror, but not the clean kind that made him innocent. You knew. Serena's eyes flashed. I knew what I was raised to become. You accepted it. I survived it, she snapped. The words cut through the hall. For a breath, Astra saw the girl beneath the Luna candidate. Frightened, sharpened, fed on the idea that being useful to power was the only way a noble daughter avoided being sacrificed to it. Then Serena looked at Astra, and pity died from her face. But I did not crawl from the lower halls wearing scars and expect the kingdom to call my pain sacred. Astra nodded once. There she was. Not innocent. Not monster. A woman who had been made into a tool, and chose to become a knife. Maelra seized the moment. You see, Majesty? Every place in the realm has a cost. A scarred oracle bears warning. A Luna bears mercy. A king bears command. Pull one thread loose, and the garment fails. Astra looked at Theron. She wants you to choose the garment over the bodies sewn into it. The silver beneath his crown pulsed. Serena descended 3 steps from the gallery. If he rejects the Veil Alliance, Thornridge will smell weakness. If he rejects corrected prophecy, captains will hesitate. If he rejects me, half the court will ask why a scarred servant has more weight than a sanctioned Luna. Astra answered quietly. Because I am not asking to be Luna. The words struck harder than a claim would have. Theron looked at her. Astra kept her eyes on Serena. You are afraid I want your place because you cannot imagine a woman standing near power without asking what chair she will be given. Serena's mouth tightened. Theron's living wolf shadow moved forward, restless and dark. The future shadow still knelt, holding the silver flame between Astra and Serena like a question neither woman could escape. Maelra lifted her darkened brand. Its opened eye glowed faintly again. Then let the scarred witness prove she does not seek power. Let her return Serena's mercy, flame to the Luna line, and stabilize the alliance. Astra laughed once. There it is again. Theron's jaw tightened. Again? Make the wound useful. Make the girl who was cut prove she is not dangerous by helping the people who bought the knife. The silver flame flickered. Serena stared at it. For the first time, desire crossed her face. Not desire for Theron. Desire for certainty. If the flame returned to her, her role would be restored. The court would understand her again. She would be the softening Luna, the beautiful mercy beside the hard king. The future Maelra had promised. Astra looked at Theron. Do not ask me to fix what they built out of me. I will not, he said. Serena's face hardened. Then you choose disorder. Theron looked at the screaming walls, the cracked crown, the future shadow, the girl bleeding truth through scars she never asked for. No, he said. I choose not to make another person into a function. The silver beneath his crown cracked again. The mercy flame in the future shadow's palms split open. Inside it was not Serena's future. It was a contract. House Vale will receive Luna claim upon successful containment of Crown Mercy. Payment rendered. 1 lower oracle suitable for wound storage. Astra's breath stopped. The room tilted. Maelra's hand tightened around the brand. Serena's mother turned white. Theron's eyes moved slowly to Astra. The contract burned brighter. And at the bottom, beneath the word payment, Astra saw the signature that had sold her body into prophecy storage. Morwen. The name Morwen did not strike Astra like a stranger's knife. It struck like a hand she had once tried to remember. For years, her surname had been the only thing the lower halls had not taken from her. Astra Morwen. Not temple property. Not false oracle. Not scarred thing. A name, however poor, however unprotected, still sounded like proof that she had come from someone before Maelra's brand and the court's contempt. Now it burned at the bottom of a contract that had priced her body as storage. Her hands went cold. Theron saw the change in her before she spoke. Astra. She did not look at him. Which Morwen? She asked. The contract trembled. Maelra's face hardened. Blood signatures are sealed records. Astra lifted her glowing palm. Then let the seal hurt. The scars across her hand split with silver light. The contract opened. Not as writing this time. As memory. A small house stood beneath winter trees, its roof bent under snow. A woman coughed blood into a cloth near the hearth. 3 younger children slept on a pallet. A man stood by the door, thin, hollow-eyed, twisting a leather cord between his hands, as Maelra offered him a folded prophecy writ. Adren Morwen. Astra knew his face without remembering why. Her father. The memory made her body sway. Edrin's voice shook. You said she would die if the vision stayed in her. Maelra's younger face was softer then. I said she would suffer. There is a difference. She is 6. She is already opening future wounds. Without temple discipline, she will become a danger to herself and to any village that shelters her. The woman by the hearth tried to rise. No. Edren looked at the children sleeping behind him. And the debt? Maelra placed a silver coin on the table. Not one. A handful. Your family survives. Your wife receives moon medicine. Your children keep the roof. The girl enters royal oracle service. My daughter, the woman whispered. Edren closed his eyes. Then he signed. The memory cracked. Astra came back to the court with a sound trapped in her throat. Not asob. Not yet. Something smaller and worse. Serena's mother exhaled in relief, as if the memory had made the crime cleaner. A lawful surrender. Astra looked at her. The woman fell silent. Maelra lifted her chin. Your father chose survival. Do not pretend poverty is innocent. He understood that a wounded child could feed a family or ruin one. Theron moved one step. The crown snapped silver around his brow. He stopped, breathing hard. Astra noticed. Even now he was learning restraint under pain. Good. Let him learn where not to step. She faced Maelra. You did not buy me because I was dangerous. No, Maelra said. We bought you because you endured. That landed harder. The future shadow at Astra's feet bowed its head. The beautiful prophecies on the walls went quiet for one breath. As if even the lies were listening. Astra looked at the contract. What did Housevale buy with me? The silver letters shifted. Payment rendered. 1 lower oracle suitable for wound storage. Purpose. Containment of Crown Mercy. Stabilization of Luna Alliance. Correction of hostile future visions. Serena looked away first. Astra saw it. You knew there was a girl, she said. Serena's lips tightened. I knew there was a vessel. A girl. A vessel, Serena snapped, but her voice cracked on the word. Theron turned toward Serena. You will not hide behind the language that made it bearable. The collar under his crown loosened half a breath. Maelra saw it and struck. She pressed the brand against the contract. The opened eye blazed white. Blood sale clause, she declared. A surrendered oracle remains under crown use until every paid future is fulfilled. The floor beneath Astra's knees flashed with chains of scar script. Crown use. Paid future. Fulfilled. The words crawled toward her skin. Theron's voice dropped into something lethal. Stop. Maelra did not look at him. If you release Her Majesty. Housevale's Luna claim collapses. The coronation mercy remains unstable. And every war prophecy corrected through her scars becomes challengeable. The captain shouted. The nobles surged. Housevale guards moved closer to the aisle. Astra could feel the court choosing again. Not Maelra. Not truth. Convenience. The court did not hate the sale. It hated that the purchased girl was still alive to dispute the receipt. Theron looked at Astra. There it was again. A choice, trying to become a crown command. He could claim her as royal witness and protect her under his authority. He could make the court stop touching her by making her his. The future shadow's cracked collar trembled. Astra met his eyes. "Do not save me by naming me yours." His jaw clenched. The words cost him before he spoke. Astra Morwen belongs to no paid future. The scar chain stopped. Maelra's eyes widened. Theron stepped away from the throne rather than toward Astra. Her father's signature sold custody to the temple. It did not sell her soul. It did not sell her refusal. It did not sell wounds not yet made. The silver crown chain cracked again. This time blood ran from his brow. Astra felt the first sob rise, but she swallowed it. Not because she was unbroken. Because this was not the place she would give Maelra proof that pain made her manageable. The contract screamed. Edrin Morwen's signature split down the center. Behind it, another line appeared. Smaller. Written in a woman's shaking hand. Lysa Morwen objects. Child taken under coercion. Astra stopped breathing. Her mother had not agreed. Maelra's face drained of color. The wall behind the throne opened. And every prophecy wound on Astra's body turned toward the hidden objection like it had finally found home. The hidden objection did not look like prophecy. It looked like a mother's hand refusing to stop shaking. Lysa Morwen objects. Child taken under coercion. The words burned behind Edrin Morwen's split signature. Thinner than the contracts around them. Weaker in ink, but stronger in pain. Every scar on Astra's body turned toward that line as if her skin had been waiting years for the only sentence that had ever tried to defend her. Astra could not move. Her mother had objected. Not enough to save her. Enough to matter. Maelra saw the change in the room and struck before grief could become proof. A desperate woman's protest does not void lawful surrender. Astra looked at her. Where is she? Maelra's face closed. The court heard the silence. Theron heard it too. Answer her, he said. Maelra turned toward him with controlled fury. Your Majesty, if every family regret can reopen temple custody, the realm loses the entire oracle system. Astra's voice came quieter. Where is my mother? The wall answered. The hidden objection widened, silver ink spreading like moonlight under a locked door. Another memory opened. Lysa Morwen stood outside the Royal Oracle Temple in a storm, soaked to the bone, one hand pressed to the iron gate. She was thinner than in the first memory, fever bright. Her dark hair loose around a face Astra recognized from dreams she had never trusted. I revoke consent, Lysa said. A temple guard looked away. Maelra stood behind the gate in her pale robes. You did not give consent. Your husband did. She is my daughter. She is a crown asset now. Lysa lifted her trembling hand. Across her palm glowed a small silver scar, shaped like a half-open eye. Astra's breath stopped. Maelra's younger face changed. Not surprise. Recognition. Lysa pressed her scarred palm to the gate. Then hear this future. A child made into storage will not stay silent forever. One day her wounds will return every stolen warning to its owner. And the crown that fed on her pain will bleed from the inside. The gate burned. Maelra stepped closer, voice cold. So, the line was not dead. The memory cracked. Astra came back to the court with her skin burning. Line. Theron looked at her scars. Then at the half-open eye now shining faintly in the wall. What line? Maelra's lips thinned. Astra answered before the High Oracle could twist it. Future Wound Seer. The name came from somewhere older than memory. The hall trembled around it. She did not suddenly feel powerful. She felt robbed of another truth that should have belonged to her gently. A name. A mother. A warning. A reason why her visions had never arrived as pretty pictures in bowls of moonwater, but as scars. Choices not yet made had been cutting her open all her life. Maelra lifted the brand. An extinct and unstable sightline. Future. Wound seers do not predict clean outcomes. They produce injury before decision. They turn possibility into panic. No, Astra said. We make choices leave marks before people can pretend they were harmless. The scars across her body flared silver. Theron's crown chain loosened another fraction. Maelra saw it and changed her aim. If she is future, wound blood, she said to the court. then every scar on her body may be considered hostile prophecy. She does not see the future. She wounds it. The nobles recoiled. There it was. Fear sharpened into law. Serena's mother pointed at Astra. Then she is not witness. She is a threat. War captains began to move. Theron stepped down from the dais. The crown punished him at once. Silver tightened beneath the black metal, cutting into his brow until blood slid down his temple. His wolf shadow snarled. But Theron did not stop. Astra looked at him. Do not make this a rescue. He halted several paces away. The restraint cost him visibly. I am not naming you mine, he said. I am naming what they are doing. Maelra's eyes flashed. Then name this, Majesty. If the Morwen objection stands, your coronation price becomes unlawful. If the coronation price becomes unlawful, your mercy chain breaks without right. If it breaks without right, the wolf crown may reject you before war. The court froze. Now the knife was visible. Astra or crown. Witness or rule. Truth or survival. Theron looked toward the throne. For the first time, Astra saw not a king tempted by possession, but a man cornered by the machinery that had built him. Maelra had not only altered prophecy, she had arranged every honest choice to look like collapse. Astra's mother's objection burned brighter. Lysa's voice rose from the wall, thin but clear. Do not let them make your refusal another throne tool. Astra closed her eyes. Her mother was dead. She knew it then. Not because the story told her, because the voice carried no body behind it. When Astra opened her eyes, Maelra was watching her with satisfaction. Grief makes poor judgment. No, Astra said. It makes clean judgment expensive. The future shadow at her feet rose for the first time. Not fully, only enough to stand between Astra and Theron. Its cracked collar hung open at the throat, but the missing chain still reached toward Astra's wrist, waiting to see whether the king would let it attach. Theron looked at that chain, then at Astra. I will not use your mother's objection to purify my crown, he said. Malrevent Bala. The court erupted. Theron continued, louder. If my coronation stands only because a child's wounds held what the crown feared, then my rule will answer that before it commands another war. The wolf crown cracked. Not the silver chain. The crown itself. Black metal split above his brow, and the hall shook as if the throne had lost a tooth. Astra felt the missing chain snap away from her wrist before it ever touched her. For one breath, she almost fell. The future shadow caught nothing. Theron did not touch her. That was why the collar broke wider. Then the wall behind Maelra opened one final time. Inside the deepest coronation record, hidden beneath every polished prophecy, lay a sealed vision written in Lysa Morwen's blood. Maelra whispered, Do not read that. Astra lifted her scarred hand. The seal opened, and her mother's final prophecy named the person who had ordered Lysa Morwen silenced. The seal opened with the sound of a wound remembering its first knife. Lysa Morwen's blood spread across the wall in thin silver lines, trembling as if the dead woman's hand still fought to finish the sentence. The court had been loud a moment before. Now even the wolves in the banners seemed to hold their breath. Astra stood beneath the opened record with her scars burning from throat to wrist. Her mother's final prophecy wrote itself in bloodlight. Lysa Morwen silenced by order of High Oracle Maelra Graith, under coronation protection, to preserve the mercy chain of Alpha King Theron Blackmere. Maelra closed her eyes. That was the closest she came to confession. Astra did not move. For all the years she had imagined her mother, she had imagined poverty, sickness, surrender, maybe even shame. She had not imagined a woman standing before temple gates with a prophecy in her palm and dying because she had tried to take her daughter back from power. Theron read the words once, then again. His cracked crown bled silver down the side of his face. You killed her. Maelra opened her eyes. I protected the coronation. You killed her. I removed a destabilizing witness. Astra laughed. It was small. It was terrible. The future shadow turned toward Maelra, its broken collar hanging open. The walls answered with every ugly prophecy Maelra had ever buried. Gold letters split. Black mouths screamed. Names rose from the stone. Lower oracles, scarred servants, village seers. Daughters sold because their visions could be cut into useful silence. Maelra lifted the brand one last time. Without correction, the realm tears itself apart. Astra stepped forward. No. Without correction, the realm finally hears what it bought. The brand's opened eye turned toward Astra, then toward Maelra. Correction requires payment. Maelra's face hardened. I paid in service. The wall rejected the answer. Truth paid by others is theft. The brand burned white. Maelra gasped as every prophecy she had altered returned to her skin, not as wounds but as titles stripped away. High Oracle burned from her robes. Keeper of Crown Sight burned from her collar. Voice of Moonlaw burned from her hands. She fell to her knees. Not before Astra. Before the records. Serena's mother stepped back from her as if fraud were contagious now that it was no longer profitable. War captains looked at the screaming walls and saw campaigns built on polished death. Noble houses saw marriages, heirs, borders, inheritances trembling under futures they had purchased clean. They did not repent. Astra saw that. They calculated. A lord shouted. If the seer lives, every house falls under challenge. Blades began to clear scabbards. Theron turned. He did not roar. He did not threaten like a beast. He spoke as a king with a broken crown, and no polished future left. The first blade drawn against the witness answers before the walls. No one moved. His wolf shadow rose behind him, larger than before, no longer pressed flat by the crown's obedience. The silver chain beneath the broken crown snapped one final link. Theron winced, but he did not reach for Astra. That mattered. Astra looked at him. Do not make them spare me because I matter to you. He met her eyes. No. The word held. He turned back to the court. Astra Morwen is not protected by my preference. She is protected by witness law. Every oracle wound, corrected prophecy, and paid future will be read before a council that does not belong to the crown. The throne cracked behind him. The court cried out. Theron looked at it once, then removed the broken wolf crown from his head. Blood ran down his temple. He set the crown on the moonstone floor, not at Astra's feet. Between himself and the throne, I will not command the truth from a crown that survived by chaining mercy. The future shadow lifted its head. The collar around its throat broke open completely and fell soundlessly into silver dust. Astra felt something leave her scars. Not all pain. Never that. But the foreign weight of wounds that had been forced into her skin by other people's fear. The marks remained. They were hers now, not storage, not payment, not proof owned by the court. Lysa Morwen's blood writing softened on the wall. One final line appeared beneath it. Daughter alive. Warning returned. Astra's knees nearly weakened. Theron moved half a step. Stopped. Asked, May I? The court watched. Astra hated how much that small question hurt. Yes, she said. Only to help me stand. He came slowly and offered his arm, not his hand over her, not his cloak around her. Not a claim. Just steadiness. Astra let her fingers rest against his forearm. His armor was cold. His body was shaking beneath it. I cannot undo what my crown used you for, he said. No. I cannot make my ignorance innocent. No. His throat moved. Then tell me where to begin. Astra looked at Maelra kneeling before the records. At Serena silent beside her ruined Luna prophecy. At the nobles who hated ugly truth only because it could no longer be sold. Begin by opening every corrected future. Theron bowed his head. And after? Ask before you come near any wound you did not earn the right to touch. His eyes lifted to hers. For the first time, there was no command in them. Only a dangerous, aching devotion still too new to trust and too honest to dismiss. If one day I stand beside you, he said, it will not be because prophecy gave me permission. Astra's scarred throat warmed, not burning, answering, it will be because I do. Outside the broken court windows, dawn touched the wolf banners. The screaming walls quieted, not because the truths were gone, but because they had finally been read aloud. Astra Morwen walked out of the prophecy dais with her scars uncovered, her mother's name burning behind her, and the Alpha King walking 3 steps behind, not claiming, following the future he had chosen not to own.